Gold is king. It always has been. It always will be. And people follow it a lot more closely. But when gold goes, and it will, and it goes to 3,000, and people will start to pay attention and they'll feel like they've missed the boat and they'll say, wow, I can't buy an ounce of gold at $3,000. What else can I do? And if silver is $40 or $50 at that point, it's going to look exceedingly cheap compared to gold and exceedingly affordable. And even if the premiums are at 50% or 60%, it's still extremely affordable for an ounce of silver versus gold. And people will rush to it.
Join our WhatsApp channel for real-time updates, breaking news, and expert predictions on gold, silver, and financial markets. Link in the description or pinned comment. Stay ahead of the curve. Don't miss out.
Done it before and they will do it again. And so you just need to get in and be patient and sit on these positions, and they will produce. Even if you're paying a high premium on a couple of silver ounces, just go out there, do a little bit of research, go to one of these big name dealers, order a couple of silver coins online from a recognized mint, and have those in your hands. It's a really small first step, but I think that it's an important first step, and it really gets you to relate to what silver is and to the silver market. And I think it'll pique people's interest, and they will want to learn more. Silver has been money for longer than gold has. It's been money for almost 5,000 years. And it's really only in the last 50 years or so, since the late 60s or 70s, when the US removed silver from its coinage, that we haven't had silver as part of our money. Silver is the name for money in more than 14 different languages around the world. So it's the exact same word. We're living really an anomaly. These last 50 years and not having silver as part of our money it's hard for people to realize. They just don't grasp it, that it's just been part of every day. It's been part of everyday transactions for millennia. And, I think that one of the things people have to be careful of is something called recency bias. Don't feel it's just too dangerous to act, and especially to invest, because investing is all about what's coming, what you have going forward, based on recent past. That's what we call recency bias. For people to think that things will be how they have been in the recent past. I believe we're absolutely in a new paradigm. I think inflation is going to be part of our future for the next decade. And we have, there are dozens and hundreds of studies that show that commodities perform exceedingly well in this kind of an environment. We've had a stock and a bond bull for the last 40 years. And I think that at least the next decade is going to be a decade for commodities. So people really do have to do a little bit of research and understand that, and start to look at how they can bring that into their portfolios. I've said it multiple times publicly. I think that silver could actually go to triple digits. And when I say triple digits, I mean triple digits, 300. I mean, if you look at, and I don't just kind of pull these numbers out of nowhere, out of the air, and try to be sensational. I use indicators that apply to the past, to previous silver bull markets, and I bring them forward. Obviously, I make assumptions. One of the most obvious, I'll give you two examples. One of the most obvious is the gold silver ratio, which many of your viewers and listeners probably know and understand. Now, over the last 20 years or so, the average has been 55 to 60. When silver peaked in 1980 at $50, which was the end of its decade-long bull run, that ratio, and that was with gold at $850, which was its own peak. But silver had climbed so much more and so much faster in the prior 6 months that the ratio made its way all the way down to 15. So a ratio of 15, and I project, or I expect, that gold will go at least to, say, $5,000 in this bull market cycle. And so if you take $5,000 gold and you use a 15-to-1 ratio, that gives you $333 silver. And if you look at another ratio, which is the average US home price to the silver price, it also peaked in 1980. And it peaked at, I think it was about 1,400 to 1. So even if you go with current prices, so let's say the average US home is about 450 or so thousand US dollars, and you do a 1,400 to 1 calculation, you end up again with somewhere around $330 for silver, per ounce of silver. So I think, and there are a couple of others, but I do think that if you do assume that you could have this blow off top of kind of a mania phase at the end of the cycle, that you could see silver go make its way towards $300. And I don't think it's going to get there. I don't think it's going to get there and stay there. I don't think it's going to get there and stay there, and that it would be healthy for any of the market, any aspects of the market, especially the industrial side. So I don't believe it will stay there, but I do think that it could be in our future. And so that's where I see silver potentially going. If you just look at it on a pure numbers basis, I guess the demand and supply, demand really is almost 50-50. It actually weighs a little bit towards industrial. So about 55% of silver demand is industrial in some form or another. And then the balance, so almost half, 45 to 50%, is some form of investment demand. At least I qualify as investment because it covers pure investment. So things like physical coins and bars, it covers things like silverware, it covers jewelry. So if you lump all of those three together, you really do reach that 45 or so percent, which, as I say, for me, in some form represents investment. And then the industrial side, which for me at least incorporates the energy metal aspect of silver, has been actually growing. So, most of silver history, it was money. And that changed maybe a couple hundred years or so ago. It started to make its way into a few other things. We started to use it to back mirrors. It started to be used in photography, and then eventually in electronics. And I'm going to say in the last 50 to 60 years or so, that really has taken on a little bit of a life of its own. Photography, naturally, with the advent of digital photography, the physical film has gone away. It's actually coming back a little bit. You do see silver still in some developing nations in things like x-rays for film, etc. But that really has been kind of withering away. But it's being replaced by demand from a couple of other sectors, so within industrial. And so the two main ones are electronics and electrical, and solar being a really big one. There's also medical. So we've known the medical advantages of using silver for, I'm going to say, hundreds, if not thousands of years. In different forms, silver is great as a biocide. So it kills bacteria, and the bacteria do not grow accustomed to it. So it continuously works against bacteria. So, some people have told me stories about growing up where, this may be from a developing country, but where they would take silver coins or pieces of silver and dump them into wine barrels to help keep wine fresh. You use silver in water filters. That's very common today to help keep the water clean and again, kill bacteria. But like I say, the two big ones are electrical and electronics. Silver is the single most conductive element. So bar none, the single most conductive element, both for electricity and for heat. And it's also the single most reflective metal that's out there. So everything is measured against silver at a benchmark of 100. So really, silver has some really unique properties, and it really does make it irreplaceable in a ton of its applications.
Don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you want to stay updated with more content like this, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss a video.